Okay, now we're moving to the final part of Act 3. If It'll be better if you have your books with you and have a pen ready so you can mark out certain things. Okay, I'm going to go very close to the script now, okay? So now we are starting at the point where Linda arrives. When Linda arrives, you see the moving truck has already arrived. They're downstairs, they're waiting, yeah? So then Linda arrives and he comes in. Naturally, the family, okay, this is right after that whole outburst, okay, with Walter and Benita, and Mama's just told Benita to that she's really disappointed. So now you can imagine that awkward silence when the whole family's been at war, and there's this silence, and then Linda comes in. Okay. Travis comes in and he announces the movers are here. Okay. And Ruth can foresee that things are not going to be really nice. And so she gets Travis to leave. She says, Travis, go downstairs, go play. Of course, there's this very heavy sense of like this very suspenseful, this very suspenseful feel, because you already know what Walter's going to do. He already told you what he's going to do, right? And so you just want to see, okay, how does this play out? All right. So Ruth sends Travis away, but Mama says, no, Travis, you stay right here. And then she talks to Walter and she says, you make him understand what you are doing. And you teach him good. Like really Harry's taught you. She being sarcastic? Is she, is this like her final plead? Like, really think about what you're doing? Okay, and she says, you show where your 5 generations done come to. We know Mama's really, really not happy at what's going to happen. Okay, now stage direction. Walter looks from her to the boy, who grins at him innocently. Now this is Travis. He's 10 years old. He has no idea what's happening. Okay, for all he knows, he's just happy that the movers are here, moving into his new house, and the house has a garden and the house has a window, and that's all he knows. Yeah, he has no idea what's happened just before that. Doesn't know anything. Okay, and then she says, go ahead, son. She folds her hands and closes her eyes. Go ahead, she says. She folds her hands and closes her eyes. Now, can you just picture that for a moment? Okay, this is a very Christian lady, very, one of those church-going women, okay, who has all her faith in God. She folds her hands and closes her eyes. Now you tell me, what does that look like she's doing? Praying? Very possible. Okay, so that's her basically leaving it to, basically saying, I leave it to God. Whatever happens, happens. She has no control because her son's taken control here, hasn't he? Okay, so anyway, Walter starts. Finally, he crosses to Linda and he says, well, Mr. Linda. At this point, Benita turns away. Now, why do you think she's turning away? We called you because, well, me and my family, and he looks around at his family. Okay, Benita's turned away. Mama's closed her eyes. Ruth is probably the only one there paying attention to anything. Okay. So he basically does not have his family with him on this. Okay. And then he goes on to say how I've worked as a chauffeur all my life, and he starts talking about himself and how his wife is a domestic worker, so is his mom, and you know they work really hard and they're simple people, and he starts talking about his father. Now all along, Linda's going, okay, can we just sign the papers? Can we just, get it over and done with? Just sign the papers and I'll go, and you can do whatever. And he goes on to talk about his father. My father almost beat a man to death once because a man called him a bad name. I mean, it probably came out really wrong. Probably somewhat threatening to Linda. But what he was trying to say was that his father was a very proud man. Okay, his father was a man who was he wasn't much, but he was a proud man. Okay, and there is a tension, okay, in the air, because now Walter is on his own. He couldn't even depend on Mama to support him or Benita to help speak for him. He was on his own. Okay, he says, well, I mean that we come from people who had a lot of pride. I mean, we are very proud people. Repeated himself. And that's my sister over there. She's going to be a doctor. And we are very proud. 3 times in one speech, he says, they're proud people. We have a lot of pride. We are very proud. For the first time ever, he is actually acknowledging the fact that Benita is going to be a doctor. All along in this play, never once did he accept that. But this time, he says she's going to be a doctor. And what does Linda say? Oh yeah, sure, that's very nice. But you see, he just wants to get the paper signed. He can't be bothered. Walter continues, what I'm telling you is that we called you over here to tell you that we are proud and that this... And he stops and he calls Travis. Travis, come here. This is my son. He makes the 6th generation of family in this country, and we have all thought about your offer. At this point, I think it has suddenly dawned on him. Every single thing that the mom's been trying to teach him all along. That they come from a family where they didn't have much. They didn't have much money. They didn't have much things, but they were proud people. They were proud because they had their dignity. They worked and earned their own money. They were honest people. They didn't take advantage of other people. They earned an honest living. Whatever they earned, they used it on themselves, and that's how they've been living, and they had nothing to be ashamed of. They were proud people in that sense. And it finally dawned on him what Mama has been trying to tell him all along. And he finally says, we have all thought about your offer, and we have decided to move into our house. Because my father, he earned it for us brick by brick. That money that they got the house with, his father earned it brick by brick. Just like how they earned every other thing every day, his father earned it brick by brick, and it's theirs because his father earned it for them, and they had nothing to be ashamed of. And if he had gone through his actual plan to grovel and put on that big show about them being, mistaken, and they're simple folk and they don't know anything, and we want to get our money back, he would have basically sold their pride just for that bit of money, which is what Mama did not want. So now at this point, Mama still has her eyes closed, but she's rocking back and forth as though she were in church, with her head nodding the Amen, yes. You can imagine that her eyes closed and she's doing this because she is feeling what her son is saying, and she is happy because at this point her son has finally come into his manhood and she was proud of him. And he says, "We don't want your money." Linda tries to warn them. He says, "I take it then you have decided to occupy." And Benita, who at first turned away because she didn't want to have anything to do with her brother, now she's turned around and said, "Well, that's what the man said." And this is where you see the sister coming to his side. "Then I would like to appeal to you, Mrs. Younger. You are older and wiser and understand things better, I'm sure." He's pleading with Mama. He says, "Well, you're wiser, you know better." Yeah, and Mama says, "I'm afraid you don't understand." Now, these words are so important. My son said, "We are going to move, and there ain't nothing left for me to say." My son said. Benita stood by him, and Mama agreed with him. And Lina says, "Well, if you are that final about it, then there's nothing left for me to say. I sure hope you people know what you're getting into." Almost threatening there. And they didn't budge. Okay, because right now they knew their family was back together and nothing can basically come in their way right now. Okay, at this point, Ruth was probably the happiest person, and she says, "Well, for God's sake, if the moving men are here, let's get the hell out of here." That's what she said. And she was so happy. Now at that point, you can almost see a light just shine. You can almost see that, because what was, just death and gloom and glum, and dull in the house because of all that they were feeling, all the the hopelessness and all the disappointment that they had over each other. The family had come together because now at this point they have realized what Mama meant all along about their family having pride, that they have, no matter what, lived an honest life, a life that was worthy of whatever it is that they enjoyed. And this house was just one of them, because they earned it. Okay, and so now we see a completely different atmosphere. There is a sudden, like a let's see, what does it say? Into action. Mama goes into action. Ain't that the truth? Look at all this here mess. Ruth put Travis' good jacket on, and it's like, okay, movement. Now they're getting ready to move. Why? The movers are downstairs, and they're getting ready to pack everything together and move. Why? Because they're happy. And at that point, Benita says, "Mama, Asagai asked me to marry him today and go to Africa." And what was Mama's response? She says, "He did? You ain't old enough to marry nobody." she say anything about Africa or Asagai? No, she didn't mind it. She just didn't want her to marry now because she's still young. So now, they're all getting ready and they're all moving. Okay? And so that is the end of the play. Of course, we will look at the dramatic part of it, the whole ending and how Mama leaves. That is all technical. We will look at the stage directions and all that much later. Okay? So we've come to the end of that.